Everyone, welcome back. Today we're looking at Rivian. We've got a few things to go through. The Rivian quarterly revenue, of course, that's one thing we'll actually go through. We also have to talk about the upcoming Rivian Plan Pause production in 2025. That's next year. This is before they launch the R2 production vehicle. So we want to understand, why are they doing this pause? And is it a good thing that it's been announced this early? Sort of makes us prepared for what's to come. And also, Rivian CEO says that R2 will have a very high level of autonomy. We have to talk about this as well. In fact, let's start with this because I'm so excited for Rivian Autonomy. I've said it many times. Rivian is no longer just an electric vehicle company. Now they're actually more of a technology company. They happen to make EVs, but the technology that's inside of that EV was made by Rivian. That makes them a technology company and the automotive brand, if you want to put it that way. I was really impressed with what I've seen so far about the Rivian Autonomy. I've been really impressed for what I've seen so far to do with Rivian Autonomy features that are coming to the Rivian vehicles, and I'm also excited for what this means for the company long term. Along with the new partnership from VW, that's all going to be quite exciting because it all connects. You know, Rivian and VW are essentially creating a new joint company that they will co own, cooperate, that will build platforms and next generation technology and software for both Rivian and Volkswagen. In this, Volkswagen is starting with an initial $1 billion investment. Continually over time, they'll invest up to $5 billion into Rivian. That's really good for Rivian. We might need some more money, however, because we still want to get the R2 vehicle into production. We still want to get the R3 into production, and hopefully by that point, we can be somewhere close to at least, break even, because Rivian is still losing money per vehicle sold, per vehicle manufactured. In an interview with the Inevitable podcast, Rivian CEO RJ Scaringe said the upcoming smaller, cheaper R2 model will come out of the gate with a very high level of autonomy. The founder of the electric vehicle manufacturer said that the model, which price starts at 45,000 US dollars, will be worlds different than the Tesla Model Y, the world's best-selling model. And here's a statement from the CEO, and I quote: I think the most important thing is that recognizing the R2 is coming, R3 is coming, the Gen 2 architecture on R1 is also building our training models and really building our data set for same set of cameras that go into the R2. And so the R2 using identical cameras to what's in the Gen 2. That's called optimizing for efficiency, but that's also really smart by Rivian. If you can get everything working within the same ecosystem in terms of internal development for your software team, and if you can get the same results on all vehicle, if not improved, then why not? This is what they're aiming to accomplish. And I've talked about this before in many different ways. I've actually theorized that long term, electric vehicles will actually need to become a little bit more modular because electric vehicles will be lasting a long time, especially when it comes to vehicles like the Neo vehicles. Those vehicles have swappable batteries. That's a modular vehicle. When you can replace a large part of the vehicle so easily in a matter of like 5-10 minutes, that's called modularity. A car that is built with modularity in terms of its battery, that's one thing Neo has accomplished. But when you can accomplish modularity in the terms of hardware and software, this means that the computer system within a vehicle can be upgraded or replaced whenever it starts to get slow, whenever it needs to be replaced, without you having to replace the entire vehicle. You could just simply just upgrade the hardware. For ICE vehicles, internal combustion engine vehicles, this is very common. Vehicles, they get upgraded all the time. People swap out engines, exhaust, all sorts of stuff, turbo, the list goes on. So we might be able to see something similar with electric vehicles, which is a little bit more challenging because ultimately a lot of companies might want to avoid that. However, I think that's a really good way to make more money. But companies don't just want to make more money by upgrading your vehicle. They want to make more money by selling you a new vehicle. And that's where the problem lies. Companies are afraid to make their vehicles too good. Too good, less sales. And you'll have to look at some other way of making the money. Companies like it when you replace your vehicle every 2, 3 years, every 5 years. They don't want people to keep their vehicles for 15, 10 years. Oh my goodness, they're not making enough money. And that's how the world works with almost every product, including the iPhone. So during Rivian's third annual Family and Friend Day, a company executive disclosed that the R2 model has already been garnered well over 100,000 pre-orders. The CEO also revealed that the company will no longer use mobile eye tech in the Generation 2 vehicles. And that is very interesting. That's also something we might want to have a look at because, like I said, Rivian being a software company, Rivian being a technology company, Rivian being an automotive company, but mainly a technology company, I can see why they'd rather build their own technology as much as possible. Because that's actually what the CEO has actually said, word for word, comparing his company to Apple, something I agree with very, very confidently, that what makes Apple really special is that Apple builds everything themselves and they're trying to do that to the extreme. When they introduced the Apple chips, when they introduced their software for the iPhone, the App Store, they didn't just rely on someone else. They built it all from the ground up within their own ecosystem, and that gave them power. That gave them market power that other companies in the Android space cannot compete with. So we might look at that another time. But another thing I want to look at is Rivian to pause production over a month in 2025. That could be big because you have to look at it from a perspective of if you close down factory, you're going to have to then ramp it all the way back up, which means that it will start off slowly and take time to build up. So will this be towards the end of 2025, early of 2025? Who knows? Ideally, we want it to be in the early parts of 2025. That way, we'll have the entire year to cover, to, replace that deficit. So during the second quarter, electric vehicle maker NIO halt production of its facility in Normal, Illinois to improve efficiency and reduce costs amidst the launch of new model R1 models. Rivian CFO Claire McDonald revealed that during the earnings conference late Tuesday, the company will do a second pause in Normal 1 year from now to prepare for the mass production of the cheaper, smaller R2 model. I agree with this. This is absolutely necessary for Rivian to do. Short term, it's gonna feel a little bit difficult. Long term, this is how Rivian makes truly a difference. Optimizing for efficiency, continuing to upgrade your factory and your production facility to do a better job, to lower the cost of manufacturing and to increase the efficiency rating of building vehicles and sales. So as we look ahead of 2025, we expect that our Normal, Illinois facility will not be producing vehicle for more than 1 month during the second half of the year as we upgrade and integrate new equipment into the plant ahead of the first half of 2026 R2 launch. So it will be in the second half of the year, just to let you know. So it will still be a difficult year in my opinion. Rivian reported 1.16 billion of revenue while negative gross profit increased over the year 451 million from 412 million. The company expects to reach modest pro- modest gross profit by the last quarter of the year. The company expects to reach modest gross profit by the end of the year, by the last quarter of the year. Well, that would be difficult, wouldn't it? In a statement, Rivian said that the losses increased due to the lower average selling prices, purchase commitments, and amongst other reasons. We continue to see a clear path for long-term approximately 25% gross margin targets, high teens adjusted EBITDA, and a margin target, and approximately 10% free cash flow margin target, said the CFO. So speaking of all of this, we want to understand it a little bit more. The quarterly revenues. Let's understand it a little bit more. That's Q2, by the way. So they still plan to build 57. So Rivian still plans to build 57,000 vehicles by the end of this year. You know, they were expected to accomplish 1.14 billion in expected revenue. They accomplished 1.16 billion. So it's very close there, of course, but I'm sure they're very happy. So the second quarter has been a defining one for Rivian, says the CEO. He went on to say, we have demonstrated strong execution during the quarter with plants, retooling upgrades, Launch of second generation R2 vehicles. That is true. They didn't just upgrade the factories this year for efficiency, but also because they were introducing the R1 vehicles, R1T, R1S, and these are second generation vehicles. The second generation, they've really tried to elevate the vehicle inside and out. And I think this is something that the brand will continue to do as they found new ways to optimize for efficiency and to cost themselves less when manufacturing vehicles. The CEO also went on to say, the changes we made to our one platform has allowed to reduce the material and manufacturing costs while simultaneously improving performance and capabilities. As a testament to our industry leading technology stack, we also recently announced our proposed JV joint venture with the Volkswagen Group, he stated, end quote. Commenting on a recently announced joint venture with the German giant Volkswagen, RJ Scarin said, we are moving along very well. He also went on to say the technical work stream to prepare the integration of Rivian electrical architecture and software technology stack into Volkswagen Group products are moving along very nicely, or very well, and we expect to close the joint venture in the fourth quarter of the year. The output from our joint venture will see Rivian technology in vehicles all around the world, helping to create more consumer choices and to speed up the transition away from fossil fuel. End quote by Arjun Scaringe. I've always said with this deal with Volkswagen, if Volkswagen intends to use this technology in only the Volkswagen vehicles, only the vehicle with VW logo, then I think the investment is kind of fair, but could be a little bit more. Now, if Volkswagen, when I say a little bit more, I mean like 1 or 2 more billion, please. 1, 2, 3 more billion at least. If it's the other thing where VW could use this technology in any of the VWs, any of the VW brand vehicles, which mean Audi, Skoda, Seat, Porsche, the list goes on. Lamborghini, the list goes on. They have so much vehicles. If they plan to use it in other vehicles that the company own, Rivian deserves a lot more funding. And when I say a lot more, I mean at least twice as much. At least twice as much. So that brings us to 10 billion. So I think if anything, this deal is probably a little bit cheap. It's a little bit undervalued for Rivian for the service and for what Rivian will provide to Volkswagen. I think this is a cheap deal. I think Rivian wanted more money for sure, but perhaps this was the best that they could get. And wouldn't it be better to accept this deal? Because what happens when another company comes along and be like, Rivian, we also like your technology. Could you do that to our car? Could you put your technology in our car, your software? Could we use some of your architecture? You create really great technology. Could we also create a partnership with you? Then Rivian will be like, well, you see the benefits that we've provided to Volkswagen, so our prices have gone up by a lot. So if Rivian can prove themselves with Volkswagen, this will be very beneficial on a global stage for the brand, for the company, long term. But short term, I can see how it's a little bit undervalued. I mean, what's 5 billion to Volkswagen? Seriously, what's 5 billion to Volkswagen? Not to mention, they will be investing in the actual company, so they will own a part of Rivian. And that's where the bargaining comes in because, if you can buy someone company, then negotiating a deal with them is meaningless easy because Volkswagen could buy Rivian just like that. In fact, it's quite surprising that they haven't. So I've actually suggested that eventually they might look to buy out the company fully. They might look to continue to invest in Rivian if Rivian proves themselves to be as capable as we think they are. So I know we're quite interested in this autonomous shift from mobile eye to in-house autonomy tech. This is what I've talked about. When I tell you Rivian is a tech company, not just an automotive company anymore, I wasn't just talking horseshit. I meant what I said because it's quite obvious that this company was very much interested in not just being. This company just created a huge joint venture with Volkswagen, all in an attempt to create new technology. How can you tell me this is not a tech company? It is a tech company, and now they're shifting away from using mobile eye technology. Mobile Eye is the same company that Polestar is working with. Rivian wants to build in-house autonomous technology, and it looks like they've already done that to a certain extent. The automotive supplier Mobile Eye has been facing a tough week after reporting disappointing earning results for the second quarter and lower in its annual guidance. Rivian CEO Arjus Karin revealed that the company will no longer use their technology in Generation 2 Rivian vehicles. Does that include the R1 and R1, the R1S and R1T Generation 2 vehicles? If that's true, Rivian is already putting their own technology into these Generation 2 vehicles. Do you need any more evidence that this is a tech company? It's not just an EV company? An interview with the Inevitable podcast, Scaringe emphasizes the limitations of Mobileye system for Rivian long-term goals and autonomy. I agree. If you want to have an unlimited potential in autonomy, AI, self-driving capabilities, the best way to do this is to do it on your own merit. Create your own software, create your own system to operate from. This is the best way to get this done. Because if you have to rely on someone else, you're always going to be limited in some factor. And Rivian is not the kind of company I want to be limited. This is the kind of company I want to be in a position where limit is not even in the vocabulary of Rivian. That's just a nice little challenge for us. That's not a limitation. And that's what I like about Rivian. They're thinking along the same lines I'm thinking on. I want them to be more like Apple, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're not relying on someone else. They say, no, we actually want to do our own thing because we can see how that's going to limit us. Good job, Rivian. Great job. Importantly, the front-facing forward camera is Mobileye base system. This is Generation 1 R1T and R1S vehicles that add the collection of cameras, all Mobileye based systems. So it looks like, as they say, with the Generation 2 vehicles, or any Generation Platform 2 vehicles, they're moving away from that. And this is good. The new Generation 2 platform will feature a completely revamped camera system developed internally by Rivian, comprising 55 megapixels worth of cameras and 5 radars, including an imaging radar. Architecturally, that approach makes it very hard to use an AI-centric model, where you're collectively using the full perception stack, having an early fusion, using more advanced AI training techniques, the collective assets from a perception point of view, what's around you, and then using that to drive both the planning side, the path planning side, and then, of course, the controls. What went into Generation 2 is a whole new camera set. It just continues to get better, doesn't it? It really does. It really does continue to get better. So as a result of everything, because of the Generation 1 vehicles using Mobileye, architecturally it meant that they have a late fusion of information because they take a camera that's forward facing from Mobileye that does a lot of processing and it doesn't give us raw imaging. That's really important. The output of that, it detects objects, it classifies the objects and assigns vector to those objects. So essentially what Rivian is basically saying is that we just don't like how Mobileye technology really works. We think we can do that way better, and it doesn't seem like we're going to have a lot of control over what's going on at Mobileye. So we just decide to do our own thing. Good job, Rivian. I support you 1,000%. This is exactly what I would do. It's exactly the obvious choice to do. It's the best decision for the company to make. They also want to confirm the Generation 1 platform is going to continue to get better, so don't worry. Your vehicle will still get better, meaning they'll continue to update those vehicles. Of course they will. However, they highlighted that the Generation 2 platform has significantly more potential for rapid advancement. There will be a difference from Generation 1 to Generation 2. So if you own a Generation 1, your friend owns a Generation 2, there will be a difference in terms of how you get updates, what type of updates you get, how those updates are implemented, how they react. They're basically same vehicle, just a slightly different brain, as odd as that sound, or processing chip or something like that. Anyway, I think I'm going to end the video here. I think I've really explained what I want from Rivian, what I expect, and what they're doing is fantastic. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to see more. Leave a like, leave a comment, and I will see you in our next video. Peace.